quick programming note before we start the show. We recorded this episode before the coronavirus became a worldwide pandemic. So it's possible that some events we mention in the show have now been canceled, such as the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Please check before going to anything. But even more important than that, please follow any advisories, use caution, and above all else, stay healthy.
Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D. Brief. This is the D Brief.
Go. Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the D
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the podcast for and about Detroit artists and entertainers. I'm Seth Ressler.
I'm Becky Scarcello.
And on today's episode, we're going to talk about making a living in the world of theater.
Very important.
Because it's not that common here in the Michigan area. So we're going to talk to somebody who does it. She's an actress and director, among many other things. Casaundra Freeman, who has been directing the Detroit Reps, The Puppeteer, which closes this weekend. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Are you sad? Do you get sad when they're over?
Yeah, I do. Because it's just like a little chapter in your life closing. You won't have those same artists in the same room doing the same thing ever again. But it's a wonderful. It's bittersweet.
I bet. So Friday the 13th, guys. It's Friday the 13th. Do you have any superstitions?
I'm not very superstitious. I am careful, though, to be mindful of other people's superstitions because I get a lot of people who, and the people in the theater are extremely superstitious.
I had that impression.
Extremely superstitious.
Do you guys do certain rituals before a show starts?
You get people who will, do the same thing, almost, to the point of having OCD. It will do the same exercises, the same thing over and over again. Certain words you can't say while you're in the theater. Certain plays you can't say. Like you can't say Macbeth when you're in the theater. You have to refer to it as a Scottish play.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it'll ruin the
vibe.
Yeah, it'll ruin the vibe.
You can't say Joe Rogan when you're on a podcast.
That's right.
You have to say the guy from News Radio.
Right,
that guy.
100%.
Fear factor. Becky, let's start off with some trivia.
Okay, so Tuesday coming up, St. Patrick's Day. We celebrate here in Detroit pretty big. People wear their green. They drink corned beef. They eat corned beef, drink green beer, go out to bars, and just act silly, basically. So, of course, the center of our celebrations here in Detroit happen in Corktown. We've got the race. We talked about this yesterday, the 5K, the mile.
5K.
You were all confused.
The 5K mile.
Yes. There's a parade along Michigan Avenue this Sunday, March 15th. So there's plenty of other events, though, that you can go to. I know we've been, concentrating on those, but there's lots of places you can go celebrate St. Patrick's Day this whole weekend up through Tuesday if you would like. So I have a bunch of events that are happening, and I want you to tell me which one of the following list is not an actual event. Okay. Mm-hmm. So A, the Proper Whiskey 12-shot contest in Corktown.
12 shots.
The Detroit Irish Fest in Corktown. A fancy gala in Eastern Market. A bar crawl in Greektown. St. Patrick's Day Family Fun Day at Beacon Park.
Which one of these is not real?
Happening?
There's no way that they can publicize the fact that somebody's doing 12 shots.
Yeah, I think
that's got to be alcohol.
Is that there? Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think somebody's doing 12 shots. It's going to happen.
But they don't want to put it out there.
They're just not going to put it out there.
They would have in like the 80s, but not now.
Yeah, no.
Good. So, Casaundra, you are able to, it sounds like, tell me if I'm right, make a full-time living doing acting-related things in the city of Detroit.
That's crazy,
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk to creatives of all types all the time, and it is a real hustle. And to turn your creative passion into a full-time living, it's got to be hard. Like, what's your secret, and how do you piece that all together?
I just have a really, really supportive family. That's honestly the way
huge.
I've been able to do it. So yeah, just having a family who supports me, a family who will do pickups and drop offs for my children.
Oh, nice.
While I'm running all the way to Williamson or to Chelsea or to back and forth to rehearsal even here. So it's just having a village around me that enables me to do that. So I'm really, really lucky because I do understand how rare it is to be able to make a living. Not only doing what you love, but doing that kind of work.
Yeah. So you get paid to act.
I do.
Paid to direct.
Yes.
Paid to do these voiceover commercials, corporate work, narration of audiobooks. And what are the other elements that your income comes from?
So I do, I call myself a multi-hyphenate all the time because I do. I act, I direct, I do voiceovers, I also do this program with hospitals where I train physicians on how to have better bedside manner with their patients and their patients' families, and I use acting as a vehicle to do that.
Like a mock, mock setup.
Simulated patient work is what
that's
it's
a
called.
good word.
Yep.
I have some doctors I'd like to recommend to you.
Yes,
if I could.
Yes,
And
we
they're
all
probably the
do.
least ones that would actually
Yes,
sign up
they-
for
they-
it.
We all
Send
do,
them
but
your
they
way.
need it so desperately.
Yeah,
They need it
that's
so
great
desperately.
work.
Thank you.
Do you know I've read that whether or not you will sue a doctor for malpractice has far less to do with whether they actually commit malpractice and whether or not you like them.
The personality.
But that's one of the things we teach them.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to steal your key stat.
No. It's important. And that's because a lot of times we get, especially with seasoned physicians, they don't understand why they need to do it, but that's a way to hook them in and let them know why.
So you don't get sued.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what tips do you have for doctors? Like what type of stuff do you teach them?
Yeah.
Teach them how to have empathy because a lot of them don't.
right.
They don't understand how to communicate. They get into this really cognitive way of thinking.
Clinical.
And they use all of these words and terms that the average person doesn't understand, especially when you're in the middle of heightened grief.
I
right?
had one doctor who just would sit there and he would narrate into this dictation program, right in front of me.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even looking at me. He's just like, patient exhibits, period,
And you just feel like a machine.
period. And I'm like, what are
you doing? A person.
Like, what is this?
I'm here. Yeah. See
hello.
me. Yeah. And
So if you had to extrapolate this for any kind of creative, what would be kind of your top advice, trying to make a living out of your passion?
To work hard and honestly, and to mind how you treat people, because honestly, work begets work. I say it all the time. And how you just be mindful of your professional reputation, how you carry yourself when you walk into a place, how you treat people. It travels so far.
Did you have a moment where, did you have a day job and you had a moment where you said, okay, I can let
quit.
that go?
I did. I was working in corporate. I was working in the automotive industry and seating. And it was around when the automotive industry took a dive around 2005, 2006.
Oh, sure.
And they were like, we're going to do these layoffs. And we were, we want to reach out to people who were interested. And my hand went up and it's like this mass meeting. They were like, not now, Cassandra. No, we didn't mean like right
This
now.
minute.
And I was like, no, that's fine, but it's fine. Choose me. Choose me. And I did. I walked away from corporate and I walked into, ironically, a show at the Jet Theater. It was paying nothing, but I was happy for the first time in a long time. It was drudgery trying to, not that the work was bad, not that the company was bad, but it just wasn't what I was called to do.
Right.
And I knew immediately that I had made the right decision, even though I was like, what am I going to eat?
Yeah.
And how much can I eat? But it all worked out.
And what
I kept
about
plugging away?
Yeah. And what about that notion though of how you decide what gigs or what have you to take that don't pay, because there might be exposure, it's that dirty word, but
I am lucky in the sense that I am part of a professional union, so I can't take jobs that don't pay.
Okay, at this point, because you're part of the union.
But I would limit that if there's somebody who's coming in, and to really trust your gut, to really get in touch with who you are, what your ideals, what you believe in, and if it doesn't feel right, don't do it.
How did the unions work when it comes to theater in Michigan? Because I'm not.
So I'm a member of Actors Equity, which is the union for professional stage actors and stage managers. And so there are certain theaters, and you have to maintain an equity contract, which means you have to give breaks at a certain time. You can't work us to death. We have to, things have to be safe. And all of the theaters here are really, really good about honoring those contracts and keeping us safe and really supporting us. And so so that we can do our best work.
What do you have to do to get into the union?
So you have to do almost like an apprenticeship. So you have to work so many weeks. So your rehearsal weeks and your performance weeks count. And so you accrue so many weeks, and then you can apply to be in the union.
And then you pay your dues.
And then you pay your dues.
Of course.
And they're really forgiving union. So you can pay it over the course of a couple of years to
that's nice.
pay it down. Yeah. And it can, get taken out of your paycheck. So it's great.
And does this take care of everything like health insurance?
It
For
does.
the union?
It does. It's a wonderful, wonderful health insurance. It's the way I've been able to
that's
afford
huge.
health
Yeah.
insurance for myself and my children. So it's great.
Let me ask you a question. When Obamacare came along, did that have an impact, or was it always health insurance basically the same it's always been?
So it didn't impact Actors Equity, because it really is. I say all the time, it's enviable how little we pay. But we work a lot to be able to do that. So you have to accrue. So what happens is you join the union after accruing so many weeks. And then once you're in the union, you have to work so many weeks to maintain your insurance.
Well, that makes sense.
So,
yeah.
So,
you want to make sure you're still in the field and doing it.
Paying $100 a quarter.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Are you casting for anything coming up?
I know. Am I right for any
Can
of
I
your
get
parts?
a role?
Yeah. Can I accrue some weeks?
So it's great.
Jeez. Let's mention a quick artist opportunity. The Belle Isle Art Fair is now accepting submissions. This event is in August. The deadline is April 19th if you want to go and hawk your wares to everybody. Belle Isle's a nice place to do that.
Yeah,
too.
that's a good fair. I've gone to that.
It's a wonderful event. Yeah.
BelleIsleArtFair.com. You can get all the information. All right, Cassandra, you ready to play a little game?
I am.
Here's how this works. We're going to ask you for a series of rapid-fire recommendations. Just tell us the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Starting with this. Is there another up-and-coming director here in the Detroit area that people should know about?
Leah Smith. She's directing Rules for Active Shooters that opens at the Detroit Repertory Theater on March 28th. I don't know about up-and-coming. She's a wonderful, wonderful director, and you're privileged to be in her presence.
We've had her on the podcast.
Yeah, we
too.
have.
You have Leah?
She's been on the podcast.
She's
yes.
awesome.
So.
Yeah, we have all the good people. If you had a time machine, which moment in Detroit history would you like to go back to?
I'd like to go back to the rebellion. I'd like to know what, to be a part of that and to see what that was, because it shifted so much in the city. Probably dangerous. I don't know, but I'd like to see what that was all about. Have insight.
If you could ask any Detroiter for advice, who would it be and what would you ask?
I'd ask my mom for advice.
Oh.
Yeah. She passed in August of 2019. But I would love to be able to, ask her for any little thing.
Now that you got kids,
thing.
now you're like,
totally.
Yes.
I appreciate her. I appreciated her now, but even more so now that she's gone. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite hidden gem in Detroit that you think people might not know about?
I love Cass Cafe.
Oh, yeah.
So much.
That's so good.
So much. The food is so good all the time. All the time. I love it there. I love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, right.
And the
on
art
Cass,
that's always on
Midtown.
in the heart of the city, featuring Detroit visual artists. It's just a wonderful, wonderful place to be.
What is your favorite locally made TV commercial of all time?
What was it? It was the Chrysler 300 commercial.
Oh, with Eminem?
Yeah, no, not with Eminem. With Kevin Yan. It was it played during the Super Bowl a few years ago. It was like Detroit. He had this really deep, gravelly voice. And why can't I remember exactly what it was? My favorite.
I thought it was the Eminem one.
No, it wasn't.
That was before my time, but I know the Eminem one you're talking about, but that's not the one, huh?
So it was maybe Eminem did something on it, but he was the voiceover artist on it.
Sure.
Yeah, you remember.
Yeah.
Look at her. She's calling out commercials. She says, I don't know the big mainstream rapper that's in it.
Right.
But
I don't know the
voiceover
mainstream, but the voiceover actors.
That's
Kevin
who
Yan.
I pay attention to. Well, speaking along those lines, who is your favorite Detroit musical artist?
My favorite Detroit, Eminem. I mean, yeah, come on.
Wait, the one from the commercial?
The one that was like had the underscore for the guy Kevin Yan. Yeah, him.
You mean the one in Kevin Young's commercial?
I really do. Him. Yes, what's his name? Yes, Eminem. Right.
That was great.
Casaundra Freeman, thank you so much for joining us all week. This has been absolutely fantastic to have you on.
Thank you
The
for having
Puppeteer closes this weekend at Detroit Rep. Go see it. And again, what are you doing next?
So I'm in Paint Night at the Purple Rose Theater, and it opens on April 2nd. It's by Carrie Krim, who's the daughter of Mort Krim.
That is so awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
She's a wonderful, wonderful person. And so I'm out there with.
Is that what
Guy
she does
Sandel.
full time?
She is. She's a full time playwright. She's not in the state anymore, but she's a resident artist at the Purple Rose as well. So they produce a lot of her work, and she's got a play opening in London. So it's just really, really exciting things. It's actually they're relaunching Never Not Once, which I was in the world premiere of. So it's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just doing all these awesome things.
Yes.
Well, thank you
so
for
much.
being here all week.
Yeah.
It was
Thank
absolutely
you.
fantastic. We want to let you know that we have a website. It's called thedebriefdetroit.com. Links to all our past episodes and lots of the things that we talk about on this show. And if you are a local musician, you can upload a song and we might close out an episode of the podcast with it like we're going to right now.
That's right. This one is called A Drink Will Help the Pain.
This is true. I can vouch for that.
That's good advice.
But after 6, it's diminishing returns.
Oh, gosh. That's 3 for me.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah. Okay. 6-pack over
That's
here.
enough.
A 6-pack. Okay. The band is called Safe as Helicopters. All one word, lowercase. Described as a free-range, musical-ish engineer. So this is an instrumental piece inspired by one of the artist's kids. So he's done songs for each of his kids as kind of part of a larger project. And I think it's super cool. You can find the whole thing on, Apple, on the iTunes or Spotify, on the iTunes, any streaming service.
You're starting to sound like an old person.
I know. Good.
It's on the
gosh.
iTunes.
On the iTunes. And you could probably find him on the Facebook. But I got a kick out of all the names of his songs. Like Only Mouths Can Eat Pears is another selection. But this one is called A Drink Will Help the Pain.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to end with a drink, and hopefully it will end your pain.
Thanks for listening to The Debrief.
Until next week, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
The D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.